Welcome to Spurs TV. It's just literally finished. Spurs 3, Brentford 2 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Do you know what? There's quite a bit to talk about. So instead of me going through all this, it's me, Marlon. I'm the host today. Let's get straight into it. But first, let me welcome out the guests. As always, my right-hand man for these match reactions. Orin, are you well?
I'm well.
Cool. Good. I'm good. Next one. As always, love him as always. Got a lot to ask him about tonight because I'd love to hear his views because he's very mixed. But Tops, are you good? Are you well, my son?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Marlon. I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Could you do me a favor? Could you turn your phone landscape so it rotates? And also, next guest as well. Mark, are you well? The one I wanted. And also for you, can you turn your phone landscape?
I'm well. You good?
We are good. I'm going to get straight into it, right? We're going to talk about that first half. We have to talk about that first half because it was concerning, right? So he brought Maddison back in, and he's obviously taken Brennan Johnson out because of all the riffraff that's been going on about him. And he put Kulusevski on the right, Bentancur and Skip in the middle. Orin, when you saw that as a lineup, were you happy or was you expecting what had happened?
Yeah, it's kind of weird because I expected that team to obviously Skip was going to be the drive, Bentancur playing in a position where he can maneuver the ball, Maddison's back. And I thought it was it could have worked, but the second half, I don't know what happened. It's just
we'll get into that. First half, why was it so poor?
Well, I think it's team cohesion, and I think Bentancur. The one thing I could say is that Kulusevski didn't look right on the left on the right hand side. It just didn't look right. Bentancur, there wasn't passing and movement. It was hesitant. Bentancur hesitated a lot and he slowed the game down. And that was the thing that I picked up on with Bentancur sometimes, that if the game is flowing, he's good. But I'm not saying he's not good regardless. But I just felt like at times he would hold the ball up a little bit too longer, give Brentford time to come back. Brentford kind of sat back, played deep, looked for the counter. And their first goal came from basically, giving the ball away. But again, I wouldn't say it was Bentancur and Skip per se. I would say it was a very passive and they weren't reading each other. And that I think that was the case. Just, Bentancur playing. They just weren't reading each other because I don't think, Bentancur hasn't played with Maddison. He's never played with Maddison yet this season.
Nope, first time. Which was all
time,
excited for. And after that.
Yes, I'm still excited to see it. It's just I know that there wasn't any understanding of each other, but I think that Bentancur and Maddison are good enough to start picking up. Skip, it was Skip. I didn't expect Skip to do any other thing than what Skip does, which is running a lot and everything else. And the front three just didn't really click. I think the thing is with Kulu is that it's really interesting with Kulu what happens with him now, because it seems that he's pretty much preferring to play in the middle, and playing out wide it kind of slowed things down. There was no fast pace. So I just think the first half was terrible. But then Angie did what Angie does and become Mr. Ruthless.
We'll get into that because I've still got my qualms about the second half, but we'll get into it. Tops, for you. You obviously saw the lineup. I don't know if you were one of the guys. I'm not going to put words in your mouth that thought Brennan Johnson should have come out. So Brennan Johnson has come out. He's played Bentancur and Maddison.
Mm-hmm.
Did you what was you expecting, and did you expect that kind of performance in the first half, or was it a case of it's missing Saar in there?
So based off the first half and the selection, I didn't really expect it, to be honest with you. Historically, as you watched us this season, you've always seen that we've always started off pretty quickly out the gates. The first sort of 5 to 20 minutes,
Yeah.
we generally tend to rush teams, metaphorically, physically, however you want to say it, in which we give them pretty much no time to kind of dwell, no time to get onto the game. And actually, if we score quite early on, it's not really uncharacteristic for us. And I suppose it kind of started that way today as well. But the only thing that means is that it constantly leaves us a little bit open, whether it's the distances between the defenders and the midfielders, or the defenders and the goalkeeper, because we like to obviously use our inverted fullbacks to keep the other teams penned in, and obviously it means that if we do lose the ball and they get us in transition, we can be obviously quite open. So initially, I actually didn't think that the balance of the team that was selected was bad. Obviously, I've never seen Maddison play with Bentancur before, and I kind of thought that Skip would be the person who would be in there. Like, I mean, when we talk about someone like Sarr, I think people don't realise how important Sarr is to this team now. And anytime he's not playing, he's genuinely quite heavily missed, to be honest with you. But I just felt like in the first half, we made some silly mistakes in the sense that I don't think Brentford really played themselves into the game. We kind of gave them the goal that we gave them. And I felt like we were just too slow in possession. We didn't use the wings enough. And for some reason, like we have done a lot of times this season, our build-up is so central. It's so centrally focused. And sometimes with a team like Brentford, today they're set up with a back three, which meant that they basically gave us no space in the middle or the final third. And people like Udogie and Porro kind of thrive off having those spaces where they can underlap and overlap. Today they didn't get that. On top of that, they packed the midfield and they were asking Tony and Mope to suddenly start dropping as well, which meant that Bentancur wasn't getting really much time on the ball. Skip wasn't getting much time on the ball. Maddison was having to come deeper and deeper. So we didn't really have much space, and we were also moving the ball super, super slow. And sometimes when you play against a low or a mid block, the way you can agitate the defense to kind of move out of position is to be moving the ball constantly, and also actually having more men in the final third. So people like Bentancur and Maddison needed to be occupying spaces where the defenders were sitting and chilling, and Richarlison was effectively playing against 3 defenders. So it was very, very difficult. And honestly, with their shithousery and everything as well, they really just frustrated us in that first half. And honestly, like, if that was what they came to do, it worked perfect.
Mark, let me bring you in on this as well. You obviously saw the lineup. I'm going to assume again you're a person that wanted to see Bentancur and Maddison in that middle. We was all looking forward to it. Why was it so wrong? Why did it go so wrong in that first half?
You've got to remember that Maddison's still not match ready. He had minutes against City on Friday, and tonight it's his first start. Bentancur was off on Friday, and today, I don't know, he just seemed really, really like pissed off. I don't know whether it was just the way Brentford come, and I think their game plan was just to turn up and like frustrate us and just annoy us and just try and get niggly fouls and just get all in our face and waste time and just get the crowd like really, really like agitated. And to be fair, it worked after about 25 minutes because I thought we was in control after the first 15. I thought, all right, we're going to win 4 or 5 here. But as Top
said,
said,
you really?
Yeah, no,
honestly, you really thought after 15 minutes we were going to win 4 or 5 after?
Yeah, I did. I thought we were getting the ball, we were moving the ball all right. I thought we were in there, like they had like 3% of the ball in our half after 15 minutes.
Yeah, but they had better chances within that 15.
Yeah. But we give them away.
But this is the issue. This is the whole issue with that whole first half. That's why I've asked the question because you said we've played well, but we've actually, like as Top said, we've made mistakes and we're giving them chances.
But we're going to make playing the brand of football that Ange does. Do you know what I mean? We're constantly.
But that's why I'm surprised you said that you saw we could score 4 or 5 in that first.
Yeah, I did
because they scored within that first 15-20 minutes. They opened us up 3 times.
Yeah, but I think that was more because we had the ball in our half. They just basically quick counter attack, our sloppy back passes, our sloppy mistakes, having too long on the ball, getting it nicked off us, and then look, they're in on.
Isn't that their game plan?
It was their game plan, and their game plan did kind of work in the first.
That's why I'm not trying to have a go. I'm just asking the question because I saw that as wasn't us getting form. I could not see us scoring in that first 15 minutes. Because
Well, no,
as Top said, and you've said rightly said, we were moving the ball slow. Okay, I just couldn't. We weren't creating nothing. You said Maddison was off it. Bentancur was off it.
Yeah. I actually thought in the first half, Skip was probably our best player, and
I'm not even going to argue with that because it probably. I can see why he came off, but at the same time, I do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I think he only come off for a tactical change, and to be fair, look, it's gone on and worked. But if you're talking about the first half, all right, okay. The only shot on goal we really had was Richarlison's, but how in control he was of the ball, I thought after the 15 minutes, I know obviously Brentford had that chance before they scored. I thought it's only a matter of time for us, but what it was, as Top said, Richarlison was just getting isolated, and we would just keep trying to play through the middle. Udogie kept coming in. Udogie was woeful tonight. I thought he was woeful in the first half, and I thought he was woeful in the second half. I know he scored.
No, it's really weird because I called him out on Friday against Manchester City for the exact same things he did tonight, and a lot of people came on and said, "No, he played one." I openly said, mistakes defensively, he's not in the right position. And we'll talk. And do you know what? Since you've mentioned Udogie, and I'm going to stay with you, right? This is now becoming quite a common theme with Udogie making mistakes at left back. Is he too lackadaisical? Is he too relaxed on the ball? Because he's not just giving them the first goal; he's giving them the second goal, right? The first goal against Manchester City, the one that was disallowed, it was down to him being out of position, and everyone was. And you look at other games where he's making constant mistakes. I think Villa's made the mistake, Chelsea's made mistakes. It's kind of getting like with him at left back, he's making. It's when he's got his back to goal. It seems like, right? And as that second goal proved, he's got his back to goal. He's trying to lay a ball back, but he's laying it slow, sluggish.
He's done that twice. Like he's literally passed the ball back to someone and they've gone and scored. He's done that twice now. I mean, I don't know whether it's the way Ange sets up. In the first half,
I think it is. I think you're right. I think it is the way he sets up. Just to carry on that. But Porro does exactly the same. But Porro don't lay the exact same passes, and that's the bit that's worrying me at the moment.
I think Porro's a better defender than Udogie. I mean, look, I know it's Udogie's first season in the Prem, and he got sent off. He's had an injury. He's had a suspension.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's just come at him so fast, and I think obviously
correct.
A new brand of football. Like obviously he's been playing in Italy. The Premier League's so different. It's more physical. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been some games where defensively he's been immaculate, as well as
of course. But it's the constant on skulls at the moment.
I mean, going forward, I mean, if we're playing against a team with decent wingers, you're basically going to tell them to batter us down our left-hand side because of the way Udogie always he doesn't go missing. He gets in positions where he struggles to get back. I mean, Damsgaard got in. I think was he offside or something where he got in and everyone was like, "Where is Udogie?" And he wasn't even in the picture. He didn't even get back in time. And I don't know. I'm not calling Udogie out because I think he with another year or two's experience, a bit more guidance, a bit more defensive position work, I think he'll be a world beater. And I do think eventually that he probably will move on to a top 3 club in the world, either Real Madrid, I don't know, Man City, if they want him, maybe. I don't know. There is a lot of room for him to grow, but I just thought tonight he was very poor. I think like he stood on the ball, he fell over the ball, and then they broke, and it was just very, very weird. I thought him and Bentancur were our 2 worst players tonight.
I think there could be quite a few more. But Tops, I just wanted to bring you on the Udogie question as well. Look, he's got us back in the game, no questions asked. He's actually done okay-ish going forward tonight. I don't know how you saw it, but defensively at the moment, does Ange need to tweak him tactically if he's going to be playing him left back, or does he need to make a change? Because again, it's now becoming like I said, it's becoming a common theme, and I think a lot of us can now see the mistakes Udogie's making every game at left back. And I don't know if it's to do with him being relaxed on the ball, or it's just down to him not footballing brain is not the right word, but more the case of he's not thinking about what he's doing.
I think it's a number of things. I largely agree with Arndt in the sense that I don't think he was very good today, which was strange because I thought he was actually one of our best players against Man City on Friday. I think it's a number of things. I think his youth, his age is a thing.
Yeah.
He is extremely confident. Like if you watch his ability on the ball, you watch how he is interacting when he's on the pitch. I think he's just very confident in himself. He's very confident in his ability. And to be honest with you, players who are that young don't put themselves in the position that he does without actually being confident. So I actually kind of think there is a confidence, and maybe it's erring on the side of overconfidence, which I think is why
it's called arrogance. You can say
some of these. Well, like I wouldn't say it's arrogant, but it's because he's so young and he's played not that much football up to this point in his career. He's been playing in a certain way that has been comfortable, and there hasn't been many repercussions. But obviously, in the Premier League, you're now seeing a player who's now making the same mistakes that he maybe did in Italy, but actually the repercussions are way, way worse than they would be in this league. And this is why it then comes out as looking as if he's poor. I think the way that we play, and I want you to just understand the point I'm making here. And I'm not saying he is like him, but the way that we play our fullbacks, it's almost the way like Liverpool use Trent. They're actually so important to our build-up and our attacking play that I think Ange understands that sometimes he has to negate their ability as actual defenders. And I know it sounds crazy, but if you think about the way that we build with them two, Porro and Udogie, basically in like a 3 with the 6, and then the way that they keep possession and keep pressure in the final third so that teams don't get out. Their game is always going to be largely in the other third of the pitch. And although we know them as fullbacks and as defenders, they're constantly doing lots of work through to and fro. And there's going to be moments where, they're not going to be in position. And honestly, when I look at the way that we set up, especially defensively in transition, I actually think Andrew's okay with that. I look at it, and then the amount of times you have Porro and you have Udogie running back in position, I think Ange is absolutely okay with that. And I think from a Spurs perspective, Spurs fans just want to see their defenders defend. They want to see them in the right positions. They want to see them making sure that when it is time to defend, they're actually in the right areas to be able to stop attacks from even building. But the way Ange sees it is that he actually wants to stop the attacks at the source. And teams are smart enough. It's the Premier League. They're smart enough to beat that first press, to beat that second press, and all of a sudden they've got us turning back.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they've got us turning back, and then you're looking and like, where the hell's Udogie? Where the hell's Porro? So I think a little bit of overconfidence, and I think maybe I think Ange should probably tweak it a little bit to maybe like their positions. Maybe one of them, if one of them goes, then one of them should maybe stay. But
Tops, just on that one, I just quickly wanted to stop you on that one. I think he's tweaked Porro, right? Because if we look at Porro and the way he started the season, a lot of the teams were going down his side, and I think he tweaked Porro a little bit. And Porro's kind of learned defensively that Manchester United completely went down Porro's side. They knew he couldn't do it defensively, but what I've found with Porro lately is that he's not in as far forward as Udogie is. Because Udogie's the better defender at the two. If we're being completely honest, Udogie's the better defender. But where
do you reckon he's the better ball player though?
No, I don't think he's the better ball player. I think he's more comfortable on the ball. He's more comfortable on the ball. But I think the person who is better at like influencing the game with passes and things in behind is clearly Porro. Sometimes as well, when you actually look at if you look at the kind of players they are, Porro is the inverted fullback who will try and actually influence the game from deep, whereas Udogie is the inverted fullback who will constantly make the underlapping runs. He constantly does that gap in between the striker and the winger to try and provide another option. So I think, yes, there has been a little tweak in Porro's game, and probably there has to be a little, because one thing I watch about Udogie as well is that he gives a lot of fouls away. Yeah. And a lot of the fouls he gives away are in transition, which makes me think that he is so up and down in his game that sometimes actually there might be moments in the game where, you maybe need to just either slow it down or maybe ask your winger, you do the dirty stuff up there. I'm going to sit back and wait for you to get me the ball. It could be a number of different things. Like sometimes I think as well on the right-hand side, Porro is allowed to do what he can do because he has the security of Sarr and Kulusevski in front of him. So he's allowed to throw him. Whereas on the left, for instance, we haven't really had a proper left winger, and obviously Assouma's not been there. and Bentancur has been kind of up and down. So it's probably a mixture of stuff. Like on some days he's great. On like the second half against, for instance, Saka, he locked that left side down.
Yeah.
Second half against Garnacho, locked that half down.
Yeah.
There will be days.
There
will be days when it won't be. It won't be easy, and I think as well for him being so young and his first season in the league, new style, new manager, new players, it will take some time. Largely, I think there will be some games he's poor, but he's a young player as well.
Tops on, and just quickly on that one because you actually make a great point. Yeah. Do you think it's in the games against what we call the lesser teams where he's not concentrating where he is making, because this is where he's making the mistakes. Apart from Chelsea, really, he's making these mistakes against like you said, when he's up against Salah, when he's up against Saka, he's not making these mistakes, right? I said he was poor on Friday. You said he was good, but I said I think Foden, if Man City were a bit more clinical, I think a lot of the mistakes were happening on his side. I just think it was down to Man City not being clinical, while we got away with a lot, and a lot of people didn't see the mistakes in his game. But tonight, he did exactly the same, but got punished because.
I agree with you, and again, it totally depends on how you view our games against these big teams. And
exactly.
Teams. Because if you see these smaller teams, generally against these smaller teams, they will come to Tottenham in a mid or low block. People need to just accept that. And the minute Brentford scored today, I was in my mind, I said, we're playing a mid block now. We're playing a mid or a deep block. And I need to see what our attackers can do to basically break this mid block down. And for lots of times this season, the mid block has actually been broken by our fullbacks. It's been the overlapping or underlapping runs of Udogie, or it's been the deep sort of lofted or in behind passes from Porro. So when I see these kind of games, I expect that players like Udogie, players like Porro, the wingers, they will have more of the ball because the teams are going to sit in, they're going to try and stop us, give us no spaces in between the lines, and the gaps are going to be less. Yeah. So there will be more of this kind of style of play. And I suppose in the bigger games, they're a lot tighter.
Yeah.
The spaces are a bit more open. The transitions are there, but like you're almost playing players of equal quality. So you kind of have to take a little bit of context with some of these games. And I honestly feel for the next 5 games that we play, it probably will be like this. It will probably be like this. And I think if Spurs fans can make peace with that, because at the end of the day, it was like this. It was topsy-turvy. It was up and down. But we won. It was like this against Bournemouth. It was like this against Everton. It will be like this.
I think today's a bit of a kick of teeth. And actually, I'm going to come to you, Oren, right? And I'm going to be open and honest. If it wasn't for these 7 minutes, the rest of the game was pretty poor for us. Defensively, we were making mistakes. We allowed them in too many times, right? But Ange, we're going to speak about the positive bit now, right? So, and I know you got to go in a minute, so I'll let you speak about it first, and then I'll get the other 2 guys on it.
Yeah.
But it took 7 minutes, a change, a tweak, which saw Højbjerg come on. Which I'm going to be open and honest. I didn't see the performance he was going to have in the second half coming, but done very well. He played Kulu and Maddison basically as 2 number 10s because we just weren't getting on the ball enough. He brought Johnson back into the fold. And it just all seemed to click within 7 minutes. And Ange ball suddenly turned on. Why was it so good? Why was those 7 minutes so good? But then we just let it go again after we got the third.
Well, don't think Spurs let it go. I think it was like Udogie making that mistake. But he's young. He's going to do that. Let that by. Speed. The front 3 all of a sudden had speed. Johnson had speed. Warner had speed. Maddison, credit's not going to go to Thibaut as much because he's just a new player and he didn't score. But I could see the connection. I can see when Maddison gets that ball and he understands Thibaut's on that pitch, he'll feed that ball through him. There was so many times Thibaut was making a run and he wasn't getting the ball and he was getting frustrated. And I think that was the difference. When it came to Pierre, he was brought on, pushed up straight away, just charged. Bentancur was waiting for people to come onto him.
Yeah,
he pushed on, and it was just pass. And that's the Ange system is built on pass and move. It's very simplistic in football terms. It was called a tiki taka. Everyone was harping on about that. It's like it's pass and move. That's all it is. as soon as Spurs start passing and moving, and having Johnson comes up, who came out with a bit of a point to prove, and I felt like he played good. But that's what changed it. It was just play faster, first time pass. You see the run, pass. Not you see the run, take a couple of more touches and then look for the pass. And even the first goal, that's what happened. It was kind of like Udogie didn't know what to pass to, so he's dilly-dallying the ball. He got caught. And I thought like that's the key. It's the system is built on fast passing, no thinking. You can't think. And Pierre, like I said, when it comes to pressing, when it comes to moments where he doesn't have to think, he's very good. When he just plays on his instincts, and I think that's what he did. And then that was it. And Kulu, he played on his instincts to a certain extent. Johnson played on his instincts. But if you look at the 3 goals, it was kind of like just quick pass and move. And yeah, I think that was a change and Angie needed. Angie said it before, and it's actually something that's becoming more repetitive, that very passive. Like against Man City, Spurs were very passive. They thought too much about what to do. And it shows that what Angie wants is, I don't want you to think. Maddison is a perfect example of that. He will just get the ball and he's already ahead of the game. So yeah, that was a change. He just brought those 2 players on, did the tactical changes, and it's weird because like there's some fans and there's a guy named Marlon who says Angie doesn't ever change his tactics or tweak it. And here he did, he tweaked it, joking by the way, he tweaked it. He had to tweak it and he did it. No, he didn't.
To be fair to Ange, he's done it the last 2. He's done it against United as well, where he's gone to 3 at the back. And do you know, it's only because everyone else told me he doesn't change it. And
yes,
I still believe in certain terms he's been forced to.
Yes, but he has been forced to, but the thing is he's willing to. And
at least he's willing to, yeah. And that was the bit that everyone everyone did question, because we weren't, like, let's be honest, until the 20th game, it's taken him to actually start changing it.
Well, because he's been forced to. I still do think, and like I have to go after this, but I still do think that when Sarr's a big miss, and in a weird way, even though Bissama wasn't kind of, bypassing players, I think we're starting to see what Spurs miss with him not being in the team.
Yeah.
Because with Udogie, he kind of helps. He comes and helps him and controls him.
And that's a great point. Yeah.
Yes, and he knows that when Udogie goes ahead, he will stand back, and that's why Udogie doesn't make as much mistake with when Bissama's there, because he will come over and cover, and he will guide him. And I could see that the screening that Bissama does, really does instill confidence in the 2 midfielders going up. Pero has changed, yes. I think the tweak is. But I do think that over time and with the way, coming together, Son coming back, I still think that Spurs will finish very high in the table. But with that, I have to go.
See you Saturday.
Yes. I'll see you again. Right. Bye.
Yeah. Tops. I want to bring you in 7 minutes of heaven, as they call. Why all of a sudden did Spurs were able to turn on for those 7 minutes, but then, as Orion said, we dropped off again as soon as Udogie's make the mistake, and we've kind of gone passive again.
This is an interesting one. I can only really put it down to immediate fresh legs.
Yeah.
Not even allowing Brentford to catch their breath in those 7 minutes.
Oh, definitely.
But, it's a funny one, because I actually think that we have been gassing out this season. I think that when it gets to about 60, 70 minutes in games, we have been gassing out, because we are expending such a crazy amount of energy in our ferocity of our press, in the intensity of our play in first halves to try and almost close the game out. And if that doesn't really go to plan, then you find that you in the second half of games, especially the middle third of the game, you kind of have this lull. But maybe because we were a goal down, the fresh legs immediately at the halftime were really important. And actually, we were finally, one thing I felt like we weren't doing in the first half, which I think, I have lots of different theories about the way Ange sees these attackers. And the way it appears to me is that he has bought attackers that he knows thrive in space. They are attackers who need the ball to be put into space. And in my mind, the way that I've grown up watching football, I love to see attackers with ball to feet. I like to see guys who want to take on their man, who like the ball to feet, who want to entice a defender, take him on, beat a man, get a crossing. And this notion of having players who just prefer the ball to space, or players who are good at off the ball running, it's kind of confusing to me, but I get it, because you have players like Bissouma, you have players like Højbjerg, you have players like Kulusevski and Maddison, who actually have, even like Lo Celso, who have the ability to find these players in space. And honestly, the big thing about these players is that they have a massive amount of pace. And if you have that pace, you get in behind. And to be honest with you, in the first half, if you look at everything that will happen on that left side to Werner, it was ball to feet, tight spaces, number of men around him. All of a sudden, in that second half, Kulusevski, Maddison is putting the ball into the final third, into space that he was running, where he actually has very good ball speed on the ball, and he's actually getting into those areas, being able to influence the game. Similarly with Johnson as well, getting him into those final thirds where he doesn't have to do too much, doesn't have too much thinking, but he can actually get beyond the defenders. And honestly, from these two situations, you now have situations that we've created goals in like a 7-minute period. So, you know what, fair play to Ange. With regard to your point, I don't think he changes it that much. I'll be honest with you. I don't think he does, but there's sometimes going to be some tweaks in what he does. But I think fundamentally he doesn't change it. I have my own reasons for saying that, but yeah.
No, I just, in that second half today, because let's be honest, I think Kulu and Maddison, they didn't, like, for him, he basically took out the Sar role. Let's call it the Sar role. And he actually played Kulu and Maddison as far up as possible, which then meant that Udogie was able to, like, Udogie and Werner, and this is what, and I'll come to you as well, Mark, as well in a minute on this, where Udogie could then finally get in that space where he got the goal, and it meant that Werner could then suddenly come into play. So that was the first time I've seen Ange probably do that all season. So that's why it was quite surprising. And obviously he's gone to 3 at the back today, and he went to 3 at the back against Man United. And these were the things that we haven't really seen over the last couple of weeks, especially when we were in trouble. He would just literally go, I'm doing that. So maybe, like you said, it's the Premier League, and he now has to learn that you get punched in this one.
Absolutely, and that's it, man. Like, effectively, you're looking at teams who are of good quality, and teams have the ability to do their homework. You have coaches who are literally assigned to video analysis. Coaches who will sit through hours and hours of tape of seeing, okay, this team played this way. How did they perform well? Was it positive? Was it negative? And honestly, there's going to be lots of games that teams will have looked at and been like, fine, this is how we are going to set up against Spurs. And this is why people like Ange are paid what they're paid, because they have to be able to coach teams who are ready to coach against them. You have to be ready to have a different plan or a different tweak or a different kind of style to be able to outwit something that these people are going to have prepared. Because a lot of these teams, they don't play in Europe. They don't have many international players away. They are preparing every single week for what they play in the next game that they have to play in the league.
And Brentford have had time this week. So, Mark, let me bring you on the 7 minutes. The 7 minutes has basically saved today's game. If we're all being completely honest, Brentford had chances, a lot of chances in that first half to probably put it to bed, and they had a lot of chances to make it 3-3, right? And I think so. We kind of have to look at those 7 minutes were completely outstanding. But why was they so good? Why are you in agreement with Topswitch? The pace. I think everyone has said that.
Yeah.
The pace, we literally blew them away.
Well, yeah, we did, but then you got to pick your moments in games where you can do that. I mean, you got to think. Some games, Tops is right. We do get gassed out, but the first half wasn't as fast paced. So Ange probably said to him at half time, right now is your time to. You've had 15 minutes to chill out, get your nutrients on board, and then just. Even Johnson said after the game when they spoke to him, he said that Ange said at half time, once you get 1, you'll get 2, and you'll get 3. That was his exact words, and he just basically said to him. He probably said to him, look, go out there and just give me 10 minutes of hell. Give Brentford 10 minutes of hell and see where you're at. And then it's like, bang, 3 goals. That can happen in games of football, especially in the Premier League. And do you know what? Credit to Werner, because I thought Werner's movement...
2 assists,
Yeah, 2 assists. But then again, you've got to see, like, he drags players away for Udogie to get into that space as well, because it comes up the left. And... all right, he hasn't really had shots on goal or He hasn't scored yet, but he's
Werner can't finish. Let's be honest. But
Well,
the other parts of his play is what,
No.
and this is what I've always said this with Werner. The other parts of his play. So the 2 assists today is what, if he's going to do that and create a lot of assists, good signing.
Yeah,
But if he's coming for goals, we're not going to get that from him.
Maybe not. And you got to look. He went to Chelsea in COVID. There was no fans there. It was just a weird time in the Premier League back then for me, and he never hit the ground running. But if you look at his record before that at Leipzig, he scored goals. He's got 100 goals in like 100.
But he went back to Leipzig and couldn't cope. So you kind of you do have to take it like, if I said to you, Kai Havertz, right? You'd sit there and go, he's crap, he's this, that, and the other. But he's in the same situation as Werner at Chelsea. But he was probably the better too.
Yeah, of course. But then you've got to look at price tags. You've got to look at everything else. Like Werner is going to probably potentially cost us 15 million.
And we should be, I'll be totally honest. If
we're
moving forward, Werner shouldn't be in our squad.
Do you not think so?
No, if we're moving forward as a club, right, Werner should be nowhere near this team.
Yeah, but then who does get in this team then? Because you got to look at it for how it is. We're not going to go out and sign someone like, I don't know, like someone like off man or Grealish. We're not going to sign someone like that. But then again,
but you're not looking. Yeah, but you're looking at it. Here's a 27-year-old who can't finish, right? Why would you not go out and get? So we're meant to be doing all this analysis. Go get the data to go get someone younger who's going to do exactly the same job as Werner.
Yeah, but then look at Werner's stats. He's played two Premier League games, got 3 assists. What do you want more? What more do you want from him other than goals?
Okay, but then I'll take the Manchester
League goals, by the way.
I'll take the Manchester City game. When you play against top quality opposition, Werner done nothing.
Yeah, because he weren't given the ball, and I was at the Man City game, and it was annoying me.
But this is what I'm saying. But this is the gap we've now got to try and catch, right? Werner is not the guy to make us stop that gap. He's the guy for now, but he's not the guy. This is the guy that's got. We've got to remember as well. Son is not going to be the exact same. So the Son's going to be a year older. So this is the guy that's going to be playing on Son's side. He can't finish, right? And we need finishers. Richarlison, thank God, is finishing. Brendan Johnson's not finishing. Today he's got his second goal. He's got his second goal.
North Kulusevski.
Exactly, but this is the problem. But this is your issue. You're asking to replace Werner for Kulusevski and all that, but you need to replace them. You need to replace them with quality. If we want to cut that gap, and we want to play handball, you can't be having Werner, right? No, Werner's done well tonight. Don't get me wrong, but Werner is not the long time. If he's the long-term solution, we've got problems.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. I'm not saying that we're going to sign him to play him in our starting 11 each week. I'm not saying
he shouldn't even be on our bench either.
Well, look, a lot. If you at Bar City, and maybe Liverpool, and obviously Chelsea, because Chelsea throw money at it. Name me players at top teams, even players like from Aston Villa or players at Arsenal who are that good on the bench. You can't manage a squad with so many world-class players.
But they're not winning anything. But there's a reason why they're not winning anything.
And this is that is
Arsenal failed last year because they didn't have a bench.
Anything.
Yeah, that's fine. But also, them teams who I've mentioned are the ones that have money. We don't have that money. So what do you want us to do?
We do have money. We know we have money. So that's
we have money, but then you got to be practical about it as well.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. But this is what we're talking about. You got to be. Like, and I agree with you. You got to be practical about it. But if you're going to be practical about it, you go out and find the Bentancurs of this world, the Sons of this world. That's what you got to do. Werner, for me, will be a total step backwards in everything that we're trying to do. Let's take Dragishin, right? He's right. Everyone said January's hard, right? Why the hell have we gone, right? You don't have to go to the top 6 sides to go find a good player, right?
No,
Dragishin was playing with Genoa every week. We went and paid the money to go get him out of that club. He's now a Spurs player. So January's not hard. You make it as hard as you want to make it.
Yeah, but like you got to look at it from this way. Like this is Ange's first season. We've backed him in both windows, and these are the players that he wants.
Okay, so this was going to be my question to you, because this is where me and you differ, right? If he's been backed in both windows, right, and you've said that we've had 2 great windows, and this was going to be my question to you, right? If the windows have been that great, right, Why are we not in any cup competition? Why are we whimpered out of every cup competition? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one, right? And two, yeah, if I said to you, right, if he's been backed, how many points better off do you think he should be off last season?
Right.
Right now, the same stage.
There's a simple question to answer to the question about the cups, right? The game against Fulham was like one of his first. Well, I think it was his second or third game, and he wanted to see players who he can trust. So he played Højbjerg, he played Skip, he played our weak team. Let's put it that way, our weaker team. And he obviously we were 1-0 down, and then Richarlison scored. We lost on penalties. Yeah, penalties is a lottery. All right. We lost to the eventual semi-finalists in Fulham. Okay, Man City in the FA Cup. Man City ain't lost an FA Cup game in like 3 years.
But let's take Burnley's included, because Burnley we were poor.
Yeah, all right. Burnley we were poor, but
Manchester City. Manchester City, right? I'm not expecting us to go through, right? That's not what my issue is here. My issue is we've always been told, right? Spurs will always try and be competitive.
Yeah,
they were not competitive against City.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. I'm not saying we should have won. I expect to go out against City. The performance was so poor, right? If our signings were that great and everything, why are we not being competitive against City?
Because Son, Bissouma, Sarr, Maddison, who started on the bench, 4 key players that arguably will start didn't play. Like, you've got to look at it that way.
Okay, but you look at Manchester City. Manchester City didn't have their big players.
No, but they've still got better players than us. Like,
yeah, but again, it's about being competitive. I don't care that we lost, and I agree with that. But the problem is, you've got to be competitive, right?
Yeah,
you've got to have the squad. But you said, right? We've had a great window. If we're missing those 4 players, and the 3 of them, you knew you were going to be missing, right? No matter what, you knew in August you're going to be missing, and in January. But we haven't been competitive. So why is it?
When look at injuries. Look at injuries this season. You don't.
Again, everyone's had the same problem with injuries.
Yeah, but they haven't had the same problem like us. We lost Bentancur, we lost Maddison, we lost
Newcastle have had the same problems. Brighton have had the same problems.
And what cups are Newcastle in?
Right.
None. They're in
exactly.
Newcastle.
But we should be preparing.
They're FA Cup, I think.
Yeah, they're still in the FA Cup. But we should be preparing for these games. You're going to get injuries, right? I agree. Angepool's completely different, right?
Yeah.
And I get we're going to get injuries. My thing is, if the window was that great, right, would have been competitive against City, would have been better against Burnley. Fulham, again, I agree. It was the beginning of the season, right? But I also asked the question, league form, yeah?
Yeah.
How many points should we be better off at this stage right now than compared to last year?
Well, you got to look at it. We played when we lost to Wolves away when we were 1-0 up. We had Dyer and Davis centre back, didn't we? Like, all right.
But you said we had a great window.
Before.
They were there.
Yeah, all right, okay. But you got to look at it from a point of view where we had a great window in the sense that we shipped players out and we got a lot of new fresh faces. In the summer we did. Yeah, we got, who did we get? We got Maddison for 40 million. We got who else we signed this summer? Pape Matar, Van der Ven, Vicario.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good window.
But we lost Kane.
Yeah, all right, yeah. And you can't, like, if we're going to go down the Kane route, like our bollocks.
But my question is, how many points better off should we be there? Because you're saying it's a great window.
But I think we should have had about 6 more points. Personally,
okay, so do you want to know what it is? Do you know how many points compared to last year? Right. So this time last year we had 39 points. Right. We'd scored 41, conceded 31. This is after 22 games, right? And
now we're on 40. Now we're on 43.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But we've conceded more.
Yeah.
We've scored 6 more. So you're saying it's such a great window. If it's such a great window, I'm expecting a 10-point swing. And also, just to put it into caveat to all of this, Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal have all got worse points than they were last year.
Yeah, but the Premier League's a lot harder this season.
Is it?
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. You got to look at it like, all right, Newcastle have been unlucky with injuries. Villa are flying. Chelsea
back.
Everyone's
yeah.
It could be a case of everyone just dropping. But I'm just saying to you, the window for me, if the window is meant to be that great, and like Tops has said earlier, why are we looking at lethargic in games? Because we're back gassing after 60 minutes, right? And if Spurs have done their research on Ange, yeah, this is not a first. This happened at Celtic.
All right, so put yourself in this scenario, yeah. Just say at the Wolves game after the games are like Asian Cup and all that, all African Cup of Nations are finished, yeah.
Yeah.
We could potentially have a bench of Fraser Forrester, who needs to go, Emerson Royale, who has been decent when called upon this season, the same as Ben Davis. Okay, two defenders who I would say, okay, well maybe Dragostin as well. Any of them three can compete. Well, we haven't seen much of Dragostin, but so far in the last, since we've needed them with the injuries and stuff, they've been okay. Yeah,
Yep.
you can't say they haven't been. I'm not saying they're going to tear trees up. I'm not going to say they're amazing Premier League defenders, but what Premier League defenders are going to be amazing sitting on a bench? They're not. Okay. We can have a midfield.
I could look at Liverpool and say some of their defenders who are sitting on the bench. They've come in, and they're still top of the league. I think they've beat Chelsea 4-1 tonight.
I don't know. I don't watch that shit.
Yeah, it was 4-1 tonight. 4-1 tonight. Yeah.
Okay, and then on the bench we could have Basuma, we could have Werner, we could have Brennan Johnson. I think that's quite an exciting, decent bench instead of bringing on someone like.
Okay, so I'll give you this, right? So Brennan Johnson, right? So I think Tops, you're not really a Brennan Johnson fan. If I might. Okay, so I'm taking.
I think he's okay.
He's okay, but this is what I'm saying. We shouldn't look for me. Right, and this is what I'm saying, right? I would have seen, look, if Harry Kane stays, the window is probably a decent window because our front three is probably still good enough, right? But our back line was well improved, right? I would sit there and say that. But what's happened is you've gone and sold our best attacker, right? Our front three is probably a big mishmash at the moment, right? And
Scored 6 more goals.
Huh? Yeah.
Scored 6 goals though.
But Richarlison, yeah, is only just coming to form now. If it wasn't for Son at the beginning, right? So you're looking at it. If I told you that Brennan Johnson, Richarlison, and Werner would be our front three about 3 years ago, right? This is when things was at Chelsea. Johnson was just coming through the forest here, and Richarlison was probably at Watford, I think, or Everton, not scoring many goals, right?
Yeah.
All right.
And we had Harry Kane. You'd sit there and tell me, nah, that's a big come down.
Yeah, I agree. But then, all right, I'll ask you this question. I agree with that because anyone that loses Harry Kane is losing a leg. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I get that, but I don't expect the come down, right? And I get there's not many number 9s. There are strikers out there.
Could you call it a come down? Although we've got 6 more points and 6 more goals, could you really call it a come down so far?
If the league is a lot harder or more competitive, then yes. If you're saying to me that our window was that great, then it is a come down.
All right,
I'm expecting it to be
all right.
slightly
I'll ask you this question, okay? So just say summer comes, we get a few players with high wages off our books. Højbjerg goes or whatever, and he says, look, you got 120 million. What players? Because you said you can nick players good enough outside the top 6. What players who ain't in the top 6 would you spend money on, and what?
So this is the thing, right? So for me, that there are many players out there, right? And I could sit there and name some now, and I could sit there and name some in 6 months, right? But it's all about it's about Ange and the team sitting down, right, and going out and actually going to get like Dragostin. Someone has sat there. Look, Paratici, he's already come out and said Paratici is doing the job, right, and he's actually bringing in most of these players, right. But when it comes to this front three, next in the summer, I'm expecting every single one of them to be replaced and for better quality.
Yeah, okay, mate.
There are players out there. For me personally, right. I don't know. I'm not being paid to work out who's going to fit into an Ange system.
No, of course. I'm just asking you your opinion.
I would. So for me, for the number 9 role right now,
Ollie Watkins, 100%.
Yeah, right. But I wouldn't even go for Ollie Watkins. I'd be going for Vlahovic at Juve because apparently there's something going on there that he's not playing, and he's probably the most ideal. Right? Tony's good enough, but he's going to be way too expensive.
Yeah.
Right. So I get. There's going to be money involvement, but if you go and find someone like the guy who's playing up front for not Leverkusen. It might be Leverkusen. There's a guy in Germany right now who's outscoring Harry Kane, right?
No, it's a geezer for Stuttgart.
Yeah, I'm not expecting. I'm not calling him to come to Spurs. Yeah, but what I'm saying, he's a prime example of someone you could go and find, who hasn't been pulling down trees before, come into the Ange system and score goals. You've just got to go and do the research, and this is what I'm saying. Timo Werner, for me, just takes us backwards in that step.
I don't think I don't
'Cause
think
he's
it
not-
takes so far back. I think it just keeps us relevant in the moment. He's come in, he's got 3 assists in 2 games. He's doing it. He's done okay.
But he's played like. But let's be completely honest. Against Man United, he should have scored.
Yeah,
Right. So he's had to say he should have scored. Manchester City, he didn't do anything. And then when he did get past Cole Walker, he wasted it. And tonight, I'm going to give you, he played well tonight. But it was only 7 minutes because the first half he was awful. He didn't really do much. And then he's obviously created 2 big moments.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that the signings I'm now expecting, and this is why I want to go on this transfer window because it closes tomorrow, right? I'm expecting in the summer to be signing first team quality players because all it means then, right, is that the players that are now playing first team should be coming down to your bench. Your bench then becomes more. You don't buy players for your bench; you buy players for your first team.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I think that's what we will do. I do think that he might have got Werner because he thought, right, it's a loan, it will take us over to the end of the season because we got injuries.
It's a massive risk.
Yeah, it is a risk, and the risk is okay at the minute. I'm not saying that he is going to score 15 goals, got 15 assists, and we're going to sign him for 15 million. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying from what I've seen against Man City, he caused Kyle Walker a few problems with the runs he made. And okay, when he did get the ball, he was wasteful. He did get an assist against Man United. Yes, he should have scored against Man United, but then again tonight.
But that assist against Man United, I know what you're saying. But that assist against Man United, Bentancur pretty much does most of the work. Where the 2 assists tonight, he does more of the work. Right,
Yeah.
so that I could have put me and you could have played that pass and Bentancur go and do the rest, and we're going to get the assist. I get he's in the right position, and I get that, right? But the assist tonight, I'm more proud of what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
Than I was against the one against Man United because Brian Hill remember when Brian Hill played it to Harry Kane and Harry Kane goes and does the rest. That's an assist for Brian Hill.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I'm saying. For me, Timo Werner, if we signed him for 15, 16 million, it is a step back for me. For where if we're trying to move forward with Ange Ball, right? If Ange says he wants him, that's down to him. But he's got to die by that sword. Like at the moment, Arteta's dying on Kai Havertz.
True, very true.
And this is my issue, right? When you're buying these sort of players, and you've seen the reputation, and it's not like he was tearing trees down at Leipzig, right?
No.
This is the question. This is the questions I want to raise to them, and we have a right to question them, right?
Yep.
Because we've gone out of 2 cups this year, right? Fulham, I take it for granted, but he shouldn't have gone out. And Manchester City, for me, yes, I take going out, but I'll always say this: Daniel Levy has always said, "I'll create a team to be competitive,"
and we weren't competitive Friday.
We weren't competitive Friday, and that was the big difference. So
quickly. My phone's going to die. Let me try and find a charger, and I'll get it. Come back.
Okay, yeah. After me and Tops will just finish it off. Don't worry, Mark. You have a good evening. You've answered the question, right? You say your last bits and pieces. Go on, because
just a quick one. Just a quick one. Richarlison was amazing tonight. I thought he was brilliant. Didn't stop. I thought Romero was colossal, and I actually thought that who else? Van der Ven was decent as well, and everyone bang out.
Yeah.
But up the Spurs. I'll catch you soon.
Catch you soon, Mark. Well done. Right. Tops. We can finish off.
Yeah.
On the transfer part, because I saw you there, I think, because the transfer window obviously closes.
Yeah.
And I saw there was bits you probably agreed with, bits you don't agree with. But how do you see the whole transfer fiasco at the moment?
Transfer. I mean,
or pleasant, because we've got rid of a lot of players off the books, and I agree.
Yeah. Sorry. So if we're looking at the whole transfer situation, I feel like the squad's been bloated for a long time. I feel like the squad's been super devoid of quality for a long time, and actually, I feel for the first time in a long time, on one hand, Paratici has done a fantastic job in bringing really good young quality potential who have massive upside into the squad.
Yeah.
And I do feel as well, for the first time in a long time, they've actually started to kick the road down the can in terms of getting some of the rubbish players or the players who are lacking in qualities that I think we actually desire now.
Just Brian Hill left,
and for the first time, you're actually feeling that they're actually making a genuine move to try and get these players off the wage books and improve the quality of the team.
And this is what I agree with. It's when people go, "We had such a great transfer window," and I always go, "You have to include Harry Kane."
Yeah, you know, exactly. Like, And sometimes there has to be a level of context when people say that, because first of all, and I keep reminding people about this. Harry Kane is a one in a lifetime type of player. There's no point of you people making that point sometimes, because you're not going to replace Harry Kane with a Harry Kane like player.
Of course,
you're gonna replace him with one or two. However, there is a massive gaping hole in the Harry Kane place that you can't ignore. So obviously, people will want to know, how are you actively going to try and replace that? And in my opinion, I don't think that it's been adequately replaced. I mean, if you're going to say to me, we replaced Harry Kane, who scored 30 goals in like 35 games or something like that, scoring 40% of our goals, you replaced him with 27-year-old out of form Werner trying to get into the Germany squad with 2 goals in the calendar year and £48 million on a young 22-year-old who has 16 career goals, I'd laugh in your face. But this is where we're at. Yeah. So until we accept that this is what Ange wants, he's happy with these guys, he's happy with Son, he's happy with Richarlison, he's happy with Hill and Solomon, then that's going to be the case. But in my opinion, there has to be, this is another conversation that we can have another day. And I've tried to make this kind of clear in the group as well. But I personally think that we have a big problem in our attack. I personally think, okay, I was having this discussion with like one of my friends yesterday, and I was like to him, just forget your biases. Forget your biases. If you were objective, you just being objective in your mindset, if you were a football fan and your team was going to the Champions League and you were doing some research against the team you were playing, and the team you were playing was Spurs, and you saw that their front three was Werner, Johnson and Richarlison, how would you actually feel if you were coming up against those front three? Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, most people would be like, I would feel completely fine. There's nothing in those profiles, there's nothing in their technical quality, there's nothing even in their tape and their history that tells me that I should be massively worried. Now, if this is what Spurs fans actually think is going to take us to the next level, because for me, one of the big things, asking Mark, wasn't it? One of the big things that I think is so important is that as we move on in our style of play, in our philosophy, in our stature as a club, we have to now sign players who move the needle. We can't sign players like Werner, because Werner doesn't move the needle. He's not of a high technical base. He's not a massive goal scorer. If anything, he is what you call a traditional chaos attacker. He is someone who is going to be in the attacking areas enough to agitate defenders, to create space and to create enough chaos to be able to score or assist. And honestly, that is what he's good at. But he doesn't even do that at a consistent enough sort of tick. So in my mind, I need to start to see players who will, one, immediately affect the first team. And I mean, really immediately affect, like I'm talking Madison level type effect. And this is now the point that we've got to move forward, and this is what we've got to do. And you need to start signing attackers who provide a constant goal threat, man. We've been here all missing season, goals, man. We're missing goals. We're fundamentally, we are missing goals. Because we've scored how many we've scored this year, right, compared to last year. But Harry Kane, like you said, but if every single week that we've come on here, right, everyone, match reactions, every YouTuber, everything like that, every single week we've gone front three. Yeah. It's been and Kulusevski on the right, that's like, you can't ignore him as well. You can't say attackers and forget him, because it's guilt-edged with him, because he's a massive part of that attack, and he's just as culpable. And I'm not going to sit here and give Johnson a hard time when I see Kulusevski running through on goal and refusing to shoot. No, he's just as culpable. But he's just as culpable. But in those first 10 games, right? And this is what I was trying to get to, Mark. In those first 10 games, if it wasn't for Son, we were all blaming the front. We were all saying Kulusevski's not good enough. He's not doing it right. Solomon, when he came on, wasn't great. Richarlison, when he came on the left, wasn't doing bits. To be fair to Richarlison, apart from the cup games in the last 6 or 7, he's been okay, and he's been doing what he needs to do. Yeah. In the last 6, 7, you have to. But the cup games, Burnley was awful. Man City was awful, right? Yeah. But actually tonight he worked hard, and even in the first half, I thought he done really well, considering Werner and Kulusevski weren't helping him much.
I thought he did really well and trying to hold up the ball and trying to get into the play. But if we're being realistic, again, he's still part of the problem.
And this is what people need to understand. Just look at the game as a whole. Look at the game as a whole. Look at how managers set up their teams. Look at the different philosophies that some of the successful managers have created for their teams to be successful. You can have a philosophy, you can have a style of football in which you get your team to the final third. Because honestly, half the battle is getting your team to the final third. You can have a great goalkeeper, you can have really good defenders, ball playing midfielders, but essentially the biggest thing that top coaches want to do is to be able to get the ball to the final third. And if you look at all those who have been successful in their lives as coaches, the Klopps, the Peps, the Sir Alex, the Contes, the Ancelottis, they've been able to get the ball to the final third. And constantly, the one thing they always tell you is that in the final third, you can't really coach attackers because attackers need to have the relevant amount of quality to be able to finish the chances that are provided for them. The job of the team is to get the ball to the final third. And it is up to the attackers to be able to get themselves the right level of quality to be able to put the ball in the net. And this is where I feel that we are going to come unstuck because we have such a good base. And I don't want to say it's going to be all thrown in the bin or it's going to come down like a stack of rubble. But we're doing everything we can. We're creating so much field tilt. We're having so much sustained pressure in the final third. We're having so many progressive passes, so many passes into the box, crosses into the box. But one of the biggest things about that is that it won't come to any good if you don't have players of the required quality, the required effectiveness, the required incisiveness to finish those chances. And this is where I feel someone like Son, I know it sounds crazy. He is the perfect Ange forward. Because if you look at Ange's forwards, historically, they don't need to touch the ball or they don't need to be involved in build-up at all. Their touches are always less. Their involvement is always less. Their job is primarily to finish the goal that is put in front of them. And this is where I feel that if you have one guy who doesn't do it and two or three that do, it's okay because you can kind of hide behind that. But if you have two, three guys who are playing lots of minutes, we're talking more than 1,000+ minutes a season, more than 5,000+ minutes a season, and you're not getting minimum 10 goals from people like Kulusevski, minimum 10 goals from people like Richarlison, minimum 8 goals from Johnson, then you start to see the holes that can be picked in these sort of systems. And this is where I stand with it. I'm Anjin, man. I love what he's turned us into. But then I can also sit here as an objective fan and say, I can see the things that are wrong there. Yeah. I can see the things that are wrong there. And I think until we address it, then I won't be super comfortable. But this is where we are. We are shithousing our way through some of these games. We're getting we're getting enough 7 minutes goals. Tonight. Do you know what I mean? We're not playing particularly well in some of these games, but we're getting the points. And at the end of the day, like you said, we are better off amazingly than we were last season. So we must be doing something right.
But it's not. But what also with that point was, yes, we're better off, but also at the same time, it's not a dramatic better off. It's just that sustainable. It's sustainable. It's more sustainable. That's probably the word I'm looking for.
It's way more. Yes. It's way more sustainable. Yeah, because obviously as well, if you look.
Oh look, he's clicked out at the wrong time. No, you know what? Great time to finish on. Oh, he's back. He's back.
For people to be like, oh, Kane's gone. You've lost his 30 goals. It doesn't work like that. the goals will get shared out, but at least we are playing in a way that we can actually create more chances to create more goals, as opposed to Kane have the ball and score.
Yeah, and obviously, and I think everyone's forgetting we had that Brighton game in between where Brighton completely.
Yeah. So
it can happen, but Tops, we'll finish it there.
Yeah.
Right? we've had do you know what? We've had a great conversation because we've managed to talk about the transfer window, managed to talk about Spurs. And look, I think Adrian put a point in earlier about Richarlison getting man of the match and Werner was the second place. We're not denying that. It's more the case of we can't going forward into the next 16 games or how many? I think 16 now. Yeah, the 16 games. We can't. It's good for now, but there's going to be games where they're not going to be on form, and we've got and April's going to be mad.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. There's going to be games, and this is again at the top level. The differences are even smaller. You're going to have games where it is tight, and there's going to be one or two chances, and you're going to need to take one of those two chances because it literally can be the difference between a win, a draw, and a loss. But no, I agree. I think Richarlison was good. I think Richarlison's quietly improved. I think Werner as well. He had a good game today, a solid game.
Quiet, good 7 minutes.
Improved improved in the second half. But again, at least Richarlison is finally standing up. We're talking someone who's had 50 odd games and has only scored 8 goals in it.
It's frustrating.
I just need more. I just need more. That's all.
And on that note, Tops, thank you very much for tonight. I love when you come on.
Thanks so much, Marlon.
I never know which way you're going to go. I have to openly admit. I'm always like, will you be on this side, will you be on that side? And I love hearing your analysis after games because I just go, I didn't even think of that. Or sometimes I go, no, you're wrong. But it's there to be debated. It's there to be debated. Yeah. But no, great analysis.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Thanks to Orion and Mark as well for earlier as well. Absolutely brilliant. Look, all of us at the end of the day, we don't not agree. We do agree, but we're all talking to each other afterwards. Right? We're all Spurs fans and we all want one goal. We want Spurs to be the best they can be, right? And we're all going to critique players. But a big well done to Brendan Johnson tonight. He needed that, right, after the criticism he's been getting. It's just the way it is. This is football. This is Spurs. But 3 points. Hopefully we can pick it up against Everton in the next game. There'll be a preview on Friday on this channel. And we'll obviously be back for the match reaction as well on Saturday night. So make sure you tune in. And yeah, Adrian has put it right there. He's a top guy. I like him so much. And that's why I bring him on, because I like what he has to say. All right. And Adrian, that's why you tune in, because I bring on top guys on this show. But as always, come on, you Spurs. And Angian.